Hello and welcome to EPQ. My name is Mrs. Fernie Huff. I am Vice Principal of Scarborough UTC, responsible for the sixth form. I've also been teaching the EPQ for 4 years and have extensive experience of working with sixth formers in education over the last 20 years. So welcome to this taster session for the extended project qualification. I want us to start off by having a look at these 6 pictures here and trying to think what the connection might be between them. We've got Thomas Cook, K-pop, Brexit, a 3D printer, a terrarium for tarantulas, and a picture of mental health. Well, the connection is that they're all EPQ projects from Scarborough UTC, either past or present projects that our students have done. Yes, one student did make a 3D printer, another made a terrarium for his tarantula. A student wrote about mental health and attitudes to mental health and researched different attitudes of people depending on their ages. We had a student who looked at Brexit and the key influencing factors of what changed that movement in the UK. We're currently looking at K-pop industry and the influence of patriarchy in K-pop and the demise of Thomas Cook travel agents and the key reasons for that. These were all projects that some of our students did. So the extended project qualification is one that you choose to study, and you choose exactly what you study. None of those topics appear in a syllabus. All of those topics were chosen by students. And the key thing that you need to know about an extended project is it is a personalised qualification. Now, the EPQ, you can choose how you do your research. So you can either choose to make an artifact, such as a terrarium for your tarantulas or a 3D printer, or we've had students who've made cycle helmets or drinking devices, or you can choose to write a project, which would be a 5,000 word essay or project. Again, the title is your choice. So you've got a choice in what you do, whether you make something or whether you write about it. And just to make you aware that if you do choose the artifact, you will have to also write some words about that, but it's 1,000 words that you write as your production plan. So let's have a think about things that are true or false about the extended project. There are 7 statements here, and I want you to think about which ones are true and which ones are false. Your project has to be linked to your A-levels, true or false. Your project takes 1 year to complete, true or false. Your project is worth 1/4 of an A-level, true or false. Your project can include your hobby, true or false. Your project is practice in academic research, true or false. Your project has an exam, true or false. Your project is something that universities recognise and support, true or false. So let's go through the answers to this. So your project has to be linked to your A-levels. As you can see here, that's false. You can choose whatever you want for your project. In fact, some of the best projects are not linked directly with A-levels. One of the things you have to be very careful about with an EPQ is that you don't cover anything that's in your A-level syllabus already. This is a piece of original research that you need to create, and therefore doing something that's not related to your A levels is fine. It could be something that's linked to your A level study, but it does not have to be part of the syllabus. And it can be something completely different. So I've worked with engineers who did projects on music last year. And in the past, I've worked with students who are doing physics who wrote plays for their EPQs. It is true that your project takes 1 year to complete. So most of us do 2 years in the sixth form, and this is a 1 year project that is done all in year 12. It is false that it's worth a quarter of an A level. The extended project qualification is worth half an A level, and you would get 28 UCAS points if you got an A star, which is half of what you would get if you were going to study an A level. Your project can include your hobby. Like I say, it can be as diverse and personalised as you'd like. And it is true that your project is a practice in academic research. Much as you might like to watch a documentary on Netflix or follow somebody on Twitter, you can't just use social media and TV as a resource. You must use academic sources, and the way that you write about it will be practice for how you do academic writing at A level and beyond. The great thing about this project is there is no exam, so it is an entirely coursework based project. And it is true that universities recognise and support the EPQ. So much so that many universities produce some excellent resources that you can use while you are doing your research. So what are you going to be assessed on? Well, the EPQ has 4 different areas. One is management. You're going to be assessed on how you are able to organise your time, and plan the different stages of your project. There's a lot of self-management involved in the EPQ, so that may involve making yourself some SMART targets or a Gantt chart, or using PERT analysis in order to plan and manage your time. But the management of your project is the first part that you're assessed on. The second you can see is your use of resources. Now, resources, like I say, have to come from a wide variety of sources, and the more varied they are, the better. But it's important that you do use things that are academic and reliable sources of information. The main part of your assessment is on the development and realisation of the project. So that is the producing of your artifact or the production of your essay or research project. And then you're also assessed on how you review your project. So that's on how you evaluate not only your project at the end, but what you've learned about your area of study throughout the project time. And that will not only be about your area of study, but probably about your own self and your study habits. So that's something that you review. So those are the 4 areas where you're assessed, and it is entirely coursework. Now, your research question is a really key part of the project, and how you decide on what to focus on is really, really important. You can see at the bottom of the slide here, I've written the words process and product. You're assessed as much on the process as you are on the final product. So it is really about getting a good question to research. And often it's something that changes. Your original question may change. You can see here there's a picture at the top of the screen of music notes and some drugs. Now, this was a project about the influence of drugs on creativity within certain musicians that a student did. But this project did not start out with that title. The project actually started out by looking at the influence of LSD on the brain. And it was a very much a neuroscience based project. But actually, as that student started to do the research, they realized that there were some interesting links between music and creativity and what was happening in certain parts of the brain. And so therefore they changed their project. And what you need to think of with the EPQ is there is a journey, a learning journey. And during the learning journey, you're assessed by completing the what we call a production log. And that production log shows a record of your learning from the very beginning throughout at certain key points through right to the very end when you're reviewing your whole project. And as it says here, this is a way for you to build your resilience and to really get your teeth into something that you're interested in to develop your independent learning skills. So where do you get your ideas from? Well, it might be that you start off by watching something on Netflix that really gets you thinking and thinks, oh, actually, I'm quite interested in that topic. It might be that you've read something in a magazine, or it might be that you are studying a book, for example, at A level, and you think that you particularly like an author or a genre of writing, and you decide, actually, I'd like to study that. I'd like to go and look at another novel, or I'd like to look at another play of that era. It might be linked to something that you want to do in the future. And many people do projects. For example, the student who made a 3D printer here at the UTC for his EPQ project, he's actually now working on designing 3D printers for his full-time job. And so he wanted to do something that would upskill him and prepare him for the world of work. So it may be that you choose something that you're particularly interested in for your future career. Again, it could be something that you're thinking of studying at university. Remember, there are only 28 different A-level courses, but there are 36,000 different degree courses. So it might be that you've got a particular interest in robotics and mechatronics, and therefore you decide you're going to do an EPQ based on that, which would be something that you probably wouldn't touch on during your A-level studies. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through some activities that I would like you to do to help you prepare for your EPQ. So we've got, how do we generate our ideas? How do we get from just things in our minds to actually a project that's down on paper or actually physically created? So what we're going to do first of all is I would like you to have a look at this table, and I want you to think about first of all, the subjects that you're thinking of studying at A level, and subjects that you've got real personal interest in at the moment. So list those down. And then in the next column, think about things that you've already studied that you're particularly interested in. You might, for example, have really enjoyed doing a particular area of science, such as genetics. And then how you might extend that topic. So it might be that you're interested in psychology, and you might want to extend that topic by looking at the nature-nurture debate and whether we are predestined to behave and be the people that we are because of the genes that we have, or maybe it is actually the environment that we live in that determines who we become. So that's our first activity. And you can stop the video at this point and complete this on a piece of paper. And then we move on to our second activity. So here we've got a series of oval shapes, which I would like you to complete. So copy these down and write inside them any topics that you're interested in. They can be as varied as possible. Okay, but try to think about things that you are interested in and then try to make connections between the two. And by the end, you should end up with a web of different ideas and connections. Again, you may want to stop the video at this point and do this activity or continue. Activity 3 then asks you to identify clear topics that you could use for your EPQ. Having done those brainstorms of all the different things and the possible connections, list now 4 topics that you've identified. And they can be very broad. For example, it could be social media, it could be fashion, it could be mechanical engineering, it could be a very broad thing, politics, but just put those topics down here for activity 3. Once again, you may want to stop the video at this point and complete this activity, or you can move on. Now, these are some things that we really do need to be careful about when we're generating ideas. The first is we've got to think about making sure we don't cross over into a subject or an area that we're already covering in an A-level syllabus or something that we've already learned from our GCSEs. So, for example, if you've just done history GCSE and you've learned all about the causes of the First World War, that would not be a good topic for an EPQ because you've already covered that. And what you don't want to be accused of is plagiarism. That's where you've stolen ideas from someone else or you've got your learning from elsewhere. The second thing you need to try and avoid is not to be too narrow or too broad. You see, if your topic is too broad, for example, mechanical engineering, you're going to find that there's so much information, it's going to be very, very difficult to find a focus for what it is you're going to study about mechanical engineering. Again, you've got to be careful that your topic is not too narrow because you may struggle to find relevant and accessible information. So make sure that what you're choosing has got breadth, but can be narrowed down, but that it isn't too narrow or too broad. The other kind of warning is to avoid things that are really personal to you. It'd be very difficult to do an EPQ, for example, about mental health if you had a family member who was suffering from a mental health condition, or you had a direct emotional link with somebody who was struggling with their anxiety or with their mental health. What you need to try and do when you're doing an academic project and an EPQ is to make sure that you're able to have what we call objectivity. So that's you're able to have a thought outside the actual personal feelings and experiences that you might be going through at the moment. So try to make sure that you're not limited by your personal bias or the fact that you could use just lots of anecdotal evidence because lots of your friends may have experienced a particular area. Try and get something where you can be objective. And then the final thing is don't be too original. Okay. If you are too original, you could really struggle to find material for your topic. All right. In my experience, actually, students can do some really wonderful projects. Okay. But, and particularly if they're making an artifact, you'll probably get a bit more originality than if you're writing your essay. But if you are going to do a really original essay project, I think you've got to make sure that you've got that research there for you to be able to use. That's so important. Okay, our next activity then is we're going to mind map our topics. So we've come up with 4 topics from activity 3, and we're now going to kind of link those into one another. So we're going to think about each topic and then key themes or key ideas that might relate to that topic. And I've given you an example here of something that I'm interested in, which is fake news. So I've put that at the center of topic 1. And then I have put down 6 areas that I think I might want to investigate if I was going to look and do my project based on fake news. So I've put influencers, bots, politics, disruption. I'm thinking particularly of Donald Trump and the disruption that's recently occurred in America, conspiracy theories, and social media. And then underneath that, I've thought of all of those different things that are all related to fake news. And a possible EPQ question that I could try and research and focus on would be, is fake news an imposing danger on modern society? So that could be a possible question. So what I would like you now to do is do at least 3 of these topic maps so that you can think of possible questions and possible areas that you can discover. This is a very good exercise to do to try and think about how much you really know about a topic, but also how much you're really interested in it. So spend some time doing this. This is not a quick topic to complete. So make sure that activity 4, you spend plenty of time and do at least 3 different thought showers here about particular topics. And at the end of each of these, you can see underneath, write down a possible EPQ question. What could that question be? Again, you might want to stop the video or you can continue, but the main thing is that you complete these activities. So we've worked through activities 1 to 4, but activity 5 is actually really now making us think about the detail that we might want to go into on 2 topics that could be suitable for an EPQ. So activity 5 guides us through all of these research. So I want you to complete this task here. Ask yourself these questions. What is the topic? What sections could be in that topic? It doesn't have to be one continuous 5,000 word essay. We can have different subsections in it. Why does it interest you? What information is out there and is available? And do you think that the sources that you found are reliable, or are they biased in some way? And be aware that lots of media is very biased politically. And then, is the topic suitable for an EPQ? Activity 6 then asks us to write one topic in the red square. And then in the blue triangles, write a research task that's going to help you find information on that topic. For example, one of the things you might want to do is go to Google Scholar to look for recent articles. And then go and carry out the research to see if you can find suitable information on that topic. Remember, if you can't find suitable information, it's probably not a good topic to study. Now, after completing